Johnson here, coming from snowy Minnesota. Today we're going to talk about the cure that can replace the cull. And we're talking about CWD, and this is not a Minnesota issue. This is a nationwide issue. When CWD left the western states and made it to Wisconsin in 2001, the penned response plan was if you find a positive animal, you draw a radius and you kill every deer you can find. And the hope was we could eliminate CWD or stop the spread or slow the spread. We've spent $100 million across the nation with that plan in the last 16 years, and where has it gotten us? CWD is now in 24 states nationwide. CWD positives approximately double every single year, and the geographic scope of CWD continues to expand. The $100 million that we spent on the cull program has not been effective at stopping the spread of CWD. Would it be worse without it? I'm not going to argue that it wouldn't be, because it probably would be worse if we weren't looking for it and spreading those circles and killing those animals. But the fact of the matter remains, at the current pace of doubling positives in area every year, that eventually the entire United States will be blanketed by CWD-affected areas, which means low deer numbers, low deer age, and low deer hunter participation, because the game and the interest isn't going to be there. That's the path we're on right now, unless we look for a cure, okay? A lot of people say, well, that's our only option. We have to shoot the deer. What else are we going to do, Brooks? We're going to spend some money somewhere else. We spent $100 million on the cull in the last 16 years. That doesn't work. I'm going to give you two options today to think about that should be funded. The first is Dr. Frank Bastian in Louisiana has some very promising research on a vaccine for CWD. Frank said he has the live test. He can grow the bacteria. He's 2 or 3 years away from a vaccination that can be orally fed to white-tailed deer on both sides of the fence that would eliminate CWD and would eliminate the cull, okay? How much does Frank want to finish up his research? Frank wants $300,000, okay? State of Minnesota is going to spend $1.6 million next year on the cull program. That's proven not to be effective. I'm not saying it doesn't slow it down, but it does not stop CWD. It will not stop blanketing the nation with the cull zone. All right, that's the path we're on right now, is that in X number of years, the entire nation will be blanketed by the CWD zone, and everybody will have to live with it and deal with it, and the deer hunting is just going to be it's going to be terrible compared to what it is now. So we got vaccinations. What's another route that we can look at? Genetic resistance. A lot of state game agencies poo-poo genetic resistance. They say deer in the landscape are shedding prions longer, infecting other deer. Peer-reviewed science from Davin Henderson in Colorado says otherwise. He says they don't shed till late in the cycle. We have a successful model from the USDA with scrapie and sheep that they implemented in the 1990s. In the 90s, when scrapie was spreading in sheep, and that's part of our food chain, the USDA said we have to fix this. So they went in and they genetically tested the sheep. They figured out which sheep were most likely to contract CWD, and then they killed them. They eliminated them. They took those genotypes out of the food chain. How'd that pan out? In 15 years, they reduced the incidence of scrapie 99%. Can we do that with wild deer? It would be very expensive, but guess how expensive the option is? The cull program, as we've seen, is very, very expensive. So don't tell me it's not an option. If we allow the captive cervid industry to continue forward with Dr. Haley's research to identify the genetic strains and test it out in controlled situations, we could run some of those same situations on deer in the wild. There are pockets of deer in the wild now that have been identified from Dennis Simpson in Michigan as highly CWD resistant. There's a lot of cataloged work in Nebraska that showed genetic resistance in deer. So the cull program is effectively killing those deer right now, and maybe we should be looking at that. We should, bottom line is we should be spending money somewhere else. We spent $100 million of taxpayer money in the past 16 years on a cull program that, while slowing down the spread of CWD, it's not enough. When it doubles every year, it's going to be everywhere eventually. Slowing the spread is not enough. The only way to stop the expensive cull is a cure. We need to be spending money on vaccine research. We need to be spending money on genetic resistance, and we need to be looking at other options outside the expensive cull. That's what our elected needs to be looking at. So this petition is geared for the Environmental Natural Resource Committee in the House, in the Minnesota House, who have introduced 5 bills this year, and none of those are looking for a cure. The closest they have is if we do get a live test, that will move us closer to a cure. We need to have that live test. But the other 4 bills are all just geared to eliminate the captive cervid industry, and a lot of people have a hatred for the captive cervid industry, but I'll leave you with this. If we kill every captive cervid in the world today, kill them all today, they're all dead today, tomorrow, multiple deer will contract CWD. And the day after that, multiple deer will contract CWD. Eliminating the captive cervid industry is not a cure for CWD. It might slow down the process of getting us there, but it's not the cure. So that's all I got for today on the petition. We need to focus on the cure. We're spending a lot of money on this. The cull is not working. Take some of that funding, spend some money on a cure.